You may be seated. It's now 3:05 on the courtroom clock. The record should reflect that all 12 jurors and 5 alternates have returned to the courtroom. Mr. Grate's present with counsel as our counsel for the state of Ohio. You may call your next witness, Mr. Tennell.
We'll call Deborah Steinhauer, Your Honor.
Ma'am, you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this man is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
If you would speak up into the mic. Thank you.
Would you tell us your name, please?
Deborah Steinhauer.
And how are you employed?
I work at Circle K as a manager.
And how long have you been at Circle K as a manager?
17 years.
And which Circle K store?
The one on East Main Street, 411 East Main Street.
Okay, City of Ashland?
Yes, sir.
And is that the store that you've been the manager of for all 17 years?
Yes.
Does that store have a video surveillance system?
Yes, sir.
Who has access to that video surveillance system?
Only the manager or assistant manager. That's the only 2 people.
Okay, so you and another person.
Yes, sir.
Has it had video surveillance all 17 years of your tenure there?
No, we only got the cameras in when Circle K took over.
Okay. So you actually predate that location as Circle K?
Yes, sir. Dairy Mart.
I was about to say it was a Dairy Mart, was it not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when when did that happen? When did it become a Circle K, approximately?
Oh, maybe about 10 years ago, something like that.
Okay, so you've had cameras for the last 10 years?
Yes.
Have they upgraded them at various times?
Yes.
And when you got cameras in there 10 years ago, were you trained on their use?
Yes.
And as they've had periodic upgrades and maintenance, have you also been trained in the upgrades?
Yes, sir.
And the video surveillance system that was in operation in September of 2016, you're familiar with how that works?
Yes.
How does that video surveillance system work?
Well, whenever we have cameras at the door and someone comes in the door, it takes an image of the person, and when they come to the register, that shows the person at the register. It will also, we can actually show where the transaction that they've made, everything that they bought, and we can, there's cameras at the register, there's cameras in the beer cave, and in the back coolers is where it's at.
And how often do you find yourself checking the video surveillance system?
We have to watch our cameras every day for at least an hour.
Okay, so every day for an hour, at least an hour, you have to...
I watch my video, yes.
Okay, and are you able to download video then?
Yes.
And does it store the video?
It will store them for like 6 months is what it stores.
Okay, and then you can access it for the last 6 months?
Yes.
And you know how to do that?
Yes.
And you're authorized to do that?
Yes.
Did there come a time when the Ashland Police Department was looking for video of your store in September of 2016?
Yes.
And were you able to review your video?
Yes.
Who requested it?
I'm not for sure the officer's name, but one of the officers from the city police department came down.
Okay, and what were you requested to do?
He wanted me to burn a CD of a certain date and certain times is what he wanted me to do.
Okay, did he have a certain subject he was looking for?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think he actually said what he was looking for. I think he just wanted me to burn the CD for those particular times is what it is.
Okay, and were you able to do so?
Yes.
What times was he interested in, if you recall?
You know what, I can't really remember what times it was, but I know that it was like maybe, I want to say like from 5 to 10, something like that, somewhere around through that area.
On a particular day?
Yes.
Okay. But you were able to download it and put it on disk?
Yes.
And did you provide that disk to him?
Yes.
Mr. Counsel, will we mark this State's Exhibit 341? And do you recognize State's Exhibit 341?
Yes, sir.
And what is State's Exhibit 341?
That's the CD that I burnt for the Police Department.
Okay. The officer did not review that footage with you at the store?
No, I just burn it, and what I do is I put it in an envelope and then call them and tell them that it's ready to be picked up.
Okay. It sounds like you've done that before.
Many a time, yes.
Okay. That particular exhibit that's in front of you, does it bear your initials?
Yes, it does.
And what do those initials mean?
What do they,
Yeah,
Deborah?
what'd you put your initials on there for?
Because you guys asked me to put my initials on there and make sure that it was actually, I'm the one that burnt the CD. That's what it
Okay,
is.
and you watched it?
Yes, I did.
And it's an accurate recording of that time period that
Yes,
you were
it is.
asked to burn?
Yes.
Is there a timestamp included in the video system?
Yes, because as soon as it's, when you're watching the video, it will actually show you the time, and it'll show you the date that's on the, when you burnt the CD and everything.
And is that timestamp accurate?
Yes, sir, it is. It's very accurate.
And if I could publish just a portion of that exhibit, Judge?
Any objection, Mr. Whitney?
No, Judge, thank you.
I've got multiple thumbnails up here. That's what you want?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, what are we looking at there?
Picture of my store where all the cameras are at among my store.
Okay, and so those would be the different views and of different cameras?
Yes,
And they're all running at the same time?
yes. As long as there's movement in my store, it will start recording is what it will do.
And what happens when there's no movement?
It will stop recording.
Pretty fancy.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And these views of the inside of your store, they are all fair and accurate representations of how your store looked on the day in September 2016 that was requested by the Ashland Police Department?
Yes, sir.
And then you indicated there's a timestamp as to each one. Where is that located?
It should be kind of like down around the right-hand corners where it's usually at.
Okay, and each frame can be manipulated into being its own full screen?
Yes,
And that's all done from the same, you just hit start and they all start playing?
right.
Now where it stops and has last image, etc., what does that indicate?
Means there's no movement at that particular area.
But you can click and enlarge one view over the other. correct?
Yes, you can take and measure, all the cameras are on the screen, and you can take and you can delete any screen you want, and then you can blow it up as big as the screen if you need to do that, if you're looking for something really special.
Okay, where we blow up the view that's on your front door, and I take it that's the front door?
Yes.
There's only one way in and out for the public, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That would be the timestamp underneath the picture, underneath the video, is that correct?
Yes.
And then you can just let it run.
Correct.
All right, but again, you just burned the CD for the time period and turned it over to the detective?
Yes, sir.
And then,
I just give it to them.
okay. And what we're watching here in all of the views is a portion of that time frame that you provided to the Ashland Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Understood.
Cross?
No questions. Just what you said.
Thank you, ma'am. You're excused.
Thank you.
Detective Brian Evans, Your Honor.
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this matter be the truth, nothing but the truth, so?
Yes, I do. Tell us your name, please.
Brian Evans,
And how are you employed, sir?
through the City of Ashland Division of Police.
And how long have you been with the Division of Police?
About 20 and a half years.
And what do you do currently for the Division of Police?
I'm currently a detective.
Now, were you working on September 13th, 2016?
Yes,
And at some point, did you become aware there was an incident on Covert Court in the city of Ashland?
yes.
About what time were you made aware of that situation?
I believe it was around 8 a.m.-ish that morning.
Okay, and what'd you do?
I was actually on my way to work. I got a call from Captain Lay, who was in charge of the Detective Bureau at the time, said that patrol had an incident and requested me to come to the station. I was already en route and then met with him on station.
And were you briefed on what was occurring?
Yes.
What was believed to have occurred at that time?
I believe that someone had called 911 that was being held in one of the abandoned houses there on Covert Court by 4th, and that officers got there and rescued her, and I was told at the time she was at the hospital being evaluated, and that the officers had secured the two abandoned houses next to each other on Covert Court by 4th Street, and I was going to be going to the area and preparing a search warrant for those houses. And I was also told that they'd already been given permission by Bruce Wilkinson, who's the owner of the two houses.
Okay. And Bruce Wilkerson, he is associated with what entity?
The Pump House Ministries.
Now, he had given permission to enter the house, but is a search warrant a requirement of BCI before they'll enter a particular location or scene?
Yes.
And did you draft such a search warrant?
Yes, I did.
You show defense counsel States Exhibit 342. The hand you will be marked as States Exhibit 342 and ask if you can identify the document.
Yes.
What is States 342?
This is the affidavit for the search warrant, the return, and the inventory of the items collected during the search warrant.
Okay, and who drafted that affidavit for the search warrant?
I drafted the affidavit.
And did you cause it to be signed by a competent judicial authority?
Yes.
Who was that?
Judge Good through municipal court here in the city of Ashland.
Okay. And once that was in hand, what did you proceed to do?
Myself, patrol, and BCI agent Staley and I believe Wingrove went to Covert Court 363, 363 and a half, 365, 365 and a half.
Okay. And that's the official listing of that residence in Covert Court, 363 and 363 and a half?
Yes.
And one would refer to the downstairs and one would refer to the upstairs, is that correct?
Yes.
And what did you do on that scene?
As we got to the scene, again, it was secured. There was officers already there. It was secured by tape and blocked off. And our first thing, myself, Lieutenant Schreffler, Agent Staley, and Agent Wingrove went into the residence and did overall pictures and just walking through the scene to see exactly what was going to be needed manpower-wise and what was actually going on at the time.
And as you walked through that scene, what was your impression?
There's going to be a lot of evidence, and it was strewn through the entire 363, 363 and a half of that residence.
Was there an odor to the residence?
Yes.
How strong?
I'd say fairly strong. There was also some fly activity, and you could tell that there was just stuff strewn about the place, mainly the bedroom and kitchen area, the downstairs.
And the evidence collection was conducted by whom?
the BCI agents.
And what did you do while that was transpiring?
As we went through and took the overall photos and found, what we had found and went back outside, the BCI agents called for more trucks/agents. And then again, I stayed on the perimeter while the BCI agents were in and out collecting evidence, and I stayed in contact back on station with Detective Dorsey, Sergeant Roan from the police department. I believe I also spoke with Detective Major as she was talking to the defendant, Mr. Grate. They were passing on some things that were being said that may or may not be different things to look for in the residence.
Okay. And how long did you stay at the location at 363 Covert Court?
I believe we were there till, I'm not sure, but 8 or so p.m. It was well into the evening or night.
And so you stayed there as long as personnel were on scene?
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
At some point during the day, did the fire department arrive?
Yes, they did.
Why was the Ashland Fire Department involved?
They were involved because the upstairs closet where Miss Griffith was found, her body had, I guess, ballooned up to where she could not be taken back out through the doorway. So they had to go in and knock out a wall to extract her body out.
And were they successful in doing so?
Yes.
And the following day, did you have any duties reference the evidence that had been collected the day before by BCI agent Staley?
Yes.
What was that?
At the end of that night, all the evidence was taken from the scene to our police department. We have a couple of different evidence rooms. We have one evidence room. We have an evidence cage for larger items or large amounts of items for a case, so that all that evidence was stored in that cage for the night. The next day on the 14th, Agent Staley came back, started itemizing those items in a printable form for paperwork. And at that point, when he was done itemizing those items, well, halfway through that, I collected 2 items from him, 2 cell phones. And then they continued computerizing, doing the paperwork for the evidence sheets. Then when they were done with that, they gave me those paperwork of the evidence sheets. Then I filled a sheet out on our police department letterhead, and then technically paper-wise, then it was entered in evidence, but it was technically in evidence the entire time.
Okay, and you took custody and control of all of that evidence?
Yes.
Show you what was marked as State's Exhibit 120. And ask if you can identify that.
Yes.
What is 120?
120, the first page would be the Ashland Police Department's evidence log, and then going back further would be the chain of custody for the evidence on this evidence log. Then as you go back through the multiple pages, there's a typed out computer-generated pages. Those would be the pages that BCI Agent Staley went through item and item and then printed out. So this is technically, the printed version would be BCI's evidence sheet. And that is it.
Going back just real quick to State's Exhibit 342, the search warrant. Is that a true and accurate copy of the search warrant? As you drafted it, had it signed, and then attached the BCI evidence return?
Yes.
And the BCI evidence return that's attached to State's Exhibit 342, is it the same that is attached and encompassed within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes, it is.
What is the purpose of the evidence log that's 120?
To keep track of where the evidence is at and who has, for a chain of custody, so there's always a chain in the evidence, as in to where the evidence is at. If someone comes in and needs to take one item of evidence out, then there'll be an annotation of who took that out, when they took it out, and when it goes back. It just keeps track of where the evidence is and who has custody of it.
Let me show you what we marked as State's Exhibit 146. And just you recognize that?
146 would be item number 77 on the evidence log.
And that's an item of evidence that you took custody of then from BCI Agent Staley?
Yes.
And it's documented within Exhibit 120?
Exhibit, yes.
Yeah, Exhibit 146 is
Documented in 120.
The movement thereof is documented in 120.
Yes.
And does State's Exhibit 146 appear to be in substantially similar condition as to that as it was found or turned over to you on September 14th, 2016?
Yes, except for, obviously, it's been cut open, the packaging itself.
And State's Exhibit 144. Is that exhibit documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And is that document, and what is that exhibit?
This exhibit is an envelope containing fake cell phone.
Okay. And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition as when you took custody of it on September 14th, 2016?
Yes.
Show you State's Exhibit 140. Can you identify that document or that piece of evidence?
140 would be evidence number 16, which is first floor bathroom would be cell phone.
And is that exhibit documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And does State's Exhibit 140 appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it looked on September 14th, 2016, when it was turned over to you from Special Agent Staley?
Yes.
Show you State's Exhibit 148. For that piece of evidence, please.
148 is evidence number 30, which is the stun gun.
And is that exhibit documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And is that also another piece of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14th?
Yes, it is.
16?
Yes, it is.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition as the way it appeared on the day you took custody?
Yes.
So you State's Exhibit 155.
55 is item number 46, and it is a set of keys to Miss Stanley's vehicle.
And is that one of the pieces of evidence that you took custody of on September 14th, 2016?
Yes.
And is it documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition as the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody?
Yes.
Your State's Exhibit 151. What is that item of evidence?
It is item number 38, which is the Microsoft cell phone.
And is that a piece of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes.
And is the transfer of, or is that item contained within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody of that item?
Yes.
And your State's Exhibit 158. Recognize what that exhibit is?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is item number 48, which is the brass knuckles.
Is that included within the property that was turned over to you by Special Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes.
And is this movement documented within Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar conditions to the way it appeared on the day you took custody of it from Agent Stine?
Yes, it does.
States Exhibit 171. To recognize what that exhibit is.
Yes, it is item number 59, is the Ohio direction card of Stacy Hicks.
And is that one of the items of evidence that was handed to you from DCI Agent Staley on September 14, 2016?
Yes,
Is it documented within Exhibit 120?
yes,
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody?
yes,
Show you States Exhibit 209. What is that?
Item number 72 is paper bag containing billfold.
And is that one of the items of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14, 2016?
Yes, it is.
And is it documented within States Exhibit 120?
Yes,
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody?
yes, it does.
States Exhibit 165. Identify that exhibit.
It is item number 54, which is the, obviously the paper bag containing a leather pouch with ID belonging to, and some cards regarding a Shawn Grate.
And is that one of the exhibits, or one of the items of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes, it is.
And is it documented within States Exhibit 120?
Yes,
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared when you took custody of it on September 14, 2016?
yes,
States Exhibit 179. Can you tell us what that is?
79 is item number 71, which is a yellow notebook pad with writings.
And is that one of the items of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14, 2016?
Yes, it is.
And is it documented within States Exhibit 120?
Yes,
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14?
yes, it does.
All of the items of evidence that were just shown to you when you took custody and control of them, where did they stay or go
They were in,
initially?
they were in our evidence Sally Port area, which is a locked cage, and they went there and stayed there. And they're currently there, except for these items.
And that's what's documented within States Exhibit 120?
Yes,
And States Exhibit 120 is a fair and accurate representation of the document as you filled it out, taking custody and control of this evidence from DCI Agent Staley?
yes,
And then further movement within of the evidence would be documented by your fellow officers on the form States Exhibit 120. Is that correct?
yes.
I'd ask you to look a little further at States Exhibit 179, a yellow notepad. What is that item?
Exhibit 191 is the evidence of the green wallet from the shelf.
And at the time it was collected by Agent Staley, did you have an occasion to look in the wallet?
Yes.
And what'd you find?
I believe there was nothing in the wallet.
And State's Exhibit 196.
196 is the metal container that was underneath the couch in Lori's living room.
And that item was located under the couch and collected by Special Agent Staley in your presence?
Yes.
Do both of those items appear in substantially similar condition as to the way they appeared when they were collected on September 21st, 2016?
Yes.
And State's Exhibits 182, 183, 184, 185, 186, 187, 188, and 189, the photographs that you testified to, do they fairly and accurately depict Lori's apartment as it appeared on September 21st, 2016?
Yes, they do.
I'll show you what we marked for purposes of identification as State's Exhibit 197. What is that item?
197 is the first page, is the Ashland Police Department, our evidence log, again, that we do for chain of custody and itemizing what the evidence is. The second page is, again, the evidence log, basically, that Agent Staley prepared for the items taken from 236 Matthews Apartment I as an item the day on the 21st.
And you took custody of both of those items from Agent Staley?
Yes.
And is State's Exhibit 197, is that a fair and accurate copy of the evidence log as it would be on file with the Ashland Police Department?
Yes, it is.
I'll show you what we marked as State's Exhibit 202. Can you identify that document?
This is the first page, is the Ashland Police Department's evidence log. The second page is BCI Staley's evidence log, and it's of a thumb drive that was turned over to me also on the 21st of September from Agent Staley to me.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 8. What is that exhibit?
Takes Exhibit 8 is item number 24 on the police department's evidence sheet. It is a thumb drive that Agent Staley turned over to me on September 21st, 2016.
And what did you do with that thumb drive?
It was placed into evidence.
And is that documented by State's Exhibit 202?
Yes, it is.
And is 202 a fair and accurate copy of the evidence log as it can be found on file with the Ashland Police Department?
Yes.
And you, in fact, filled out State's Exhibit 202 and created that document, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And the items of evidence, just to go back real quick, that the green wallet and the box with contents documented within State's Exhibit 197, what did you do with those items after they were turned over to you by BCI Agent Staley?
They were placed in the city police department's evidence.
And that is documented by State's Exhibit 197, is that correct?
Yes.
So State's Exhibit 347 to Defense Counsel. I'll show you State's Exhibit 347, but before I ask you what that is, can you see in Lori's apartment the area of the green wallet from the door?
Yes.
So you don't have to enter the apartment in order to see where she keeps her money?
Correct. If you knew where that would be, you could see straight across and see that area, yes.
Okay. And what is then State's Exhibit 347?
347 would be a picture of her apartment with her door open, kind of a picture just straight ahead.
Your Honor, can we publish State's Exhibit 347?
Any objection?
Okay.
All right, and what are we seeing within this exhibit?
You're seeing when the door opens. In most of these apartments, there's usually a wall straight ahead like there is here. Off to the right would be the kitchen area. Off to the left would be the living room area. If you look off to the left, you'll see the top of the teddy bear's head. If you go past that, you'll start to see area of the white bookshelf that I call it. You can see the middle shelf as to where Lori kept her green change purse.
And attempt to zoom in there. Is that the flash of green we see just past the tennis rackets?
Yes,
So again, one would not need to enter the apartment. One could be in the hallway and see that location
correct.
clearly.
Yes.
Now, at some point in time, did you make contact with a Deborah Steinhauer at Circle K on Main Street in the city of Ashland?
Yes, I did.
What was your purpose in making contact with her?
Oh, and speaking with Mr. Grate, I believe the second time on the 21st, talking about the money taken from Lori and asking what he'd done with it. He'd said he went to Circle K, and I asked which Circle K, and he said on Main Street. And he estimated it was in the evening time on the 12th, which would have been the Monday before the 911 call on the 13th.
And you know Deborah Steinhauer?
Yes,
Have you had occasion to request her assistance in cases prior to this one?
yes,
And are you familiar then with the operation of Circle K's video system?
yes.
What did you request of Ms. Steinhauer?
I requested her to go through her video on the 12th, and I think I started from about 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and had her burn me 2 discs from video from that time frame. And then I brought it back to the station, and then I went through those videos until I found a point that I saw Mr. Grate coming into the Circle K on the 12th.
I'll show you what we've marked as State's Exhibit 341. You recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It is the disc that contains the Circle K surveillance video.
And how can you be so sure just looking at the disc?
Well, 1, it's marked, and 2, it's initialed by me, meaning that I've watched what's on this disc and know it to be the surveillance from the Circle K.
So you reviewed that particular exhibit prior to arriving in court today?
Yes,
And does it contain the same video footage that was turned over to you by Deborah Steinhauer?
yes,
And is it a true and accurate representation of what was turned over to you by Deborah Steinhauer?
yes,
Now, within that system, do you then, at your office, have the ability to print out still photos from
Yes.
the video?
yes,
And did you do so in this case?
yes, I did.
Show defense counsel State's Exhibit 344, 345, and 346. In reviewing the video footage, did you find anything of interest?
Yes, I did.
What'd you find?
Mr. Grate had previously stated that he was in there on the 12th in the evening time, and he had used the money from Lori's apartment to purchase some Marlboro Black 100s and a puller pop. And after viewing the video, I see Mr. Grate come into the Circle K in the evening time on the 12th and purchase a pack of Marlboro Black 100s and a puller pop.
Show you State's Exhibit 344. What is that?
344 would be a snapshot picture from the surveillance video of Mr. Grate walking in to the front doors of the Circle K on East Main Street.
And Your Honor, if we could publish 344, 345, 346.
Any
No
obje-
objection.
Thank you.
All right, and approximately what time did this occur?
8:02 p.m.
On State's Exhibit 345.
345 is, again, another still shot picture from the surveillance video, the Circle K, of Mr. Grate up at the counter. You can see some cash in one hand. Right in front of that hand with the cash, you can see a puller pop. And then you can see the clerk grabbing off the counter a pack of Marlboro Black 100s.
On State's 346.
346 is, again, is a snapshot picture from the surveillance video, again showing Mr. Grate at the counter, and at this time he's handing cash to the clerk at Circle K.
And then there's also within State's, those are stills off of the video on State's Exhibit 341, correct?
Yes.
And you reviewed that video?
Yes.
Your Honor, if we might again publish the video in 341.
Any objection?
No, sir.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, what view is this, Detective?
It would again be the view of the Circle K on East Main Street of the entrance doors.
And what did we just see?
Mr. Grate come into the Circle K on East Main Street.
What view is this, Detective?
This would be a view from pretty much above the entrance doors, more towards the front counter clerk area of the Circle K on East Main Street.
And who is this that's on video currently?
Mr. Grate on the customer side of the counter and a clerk on the employee side of the counter.
And now what view is this for, sir?
This would be a view of right above the counter at Circle K on East Main Street.
And what view is this again?
Again, above the doors, looking at the entrance doors to the Circle K on East Main Street.
And who is this that we're observing?
Mr. Grate leaving the restaurant or the convenience store.
And approximately, or not approximately, what time did this occur?
8:04 p.m. and 34 seconds.
Are those videos fair and accurate depictions of the video as you reviewed it? Having received it from Ms. Steinhauer?
Yes.
And approximately when did you make this request of Ms. Steinhauer?
It was on the 23rd of September, 2016.
Okay, and was she able to comply with your request in a reasonable period of time?
Yes.
We'll go back to State's Exhibit 146. First item that I handed you in a series of exhibits. What, physically, what is that?
That's a evidence envelope containing a
Would you hold those up, please? And as a pack that looks like that, what we saw in the video is being purchased by Shawn Grate at Circle K on Main Street.
yes.
And then that item is one of the items that was turned over to you by Agent Staley?
Yes.
So that item was located where?
It's located in the bedroom on, what I'd call a nightstand, just next to the bed of Shawn Grate.
And in fact, it's photographed there with polar pop.
Yes, it is.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, and just to be clear, State's Exhibit 342, the search warrant, that is an accurate copy of the search warrant as you drafted it and had it signed by Judge Good?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 347, is it a fair and accurate depiction of the scene at Lord Spillick's apartment as you observed it?
Yes.
Stony Creek Apartments, in their entirety, it's your understanding that both Lori Spillick and Elizabeth Griffith resided there, correct?
Correct.
What county and state are those apartments located in?
Ashland County, Ohio.
And the gentleman that you've been referring to is Shawn Grate. Is he located here in the courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Would you point him out, please, and describe what he's wearing?
He's at the defendant's table, white shirt, tie, glasses, dark hair.
The record could reflect the identification of the defendant.
Record will so reflect.
And Detective, to be clear, the gentleman seated in the white shirt and tie at defense counsel's table, is that the same gentleman that demonstrated on you on September 15th, 2016, how he strangled two women on video?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Cross?
Detective Evans, if I understood correctly, on September 15th of 2016, you took part in a interview between Detective Majors and Shawn Grate, and you were there, present for that.
Yes, I was.
All right. And I believe during that time, maybe at the end of that interview, there was a demonstration involving yourself and Shawn Grate.
Yes.
And during the time before leading up to that, maybe during the time where there's some little bit of humor exchange between you and Shawn.
I believe I comment on the way he's smiling at me, because I requested if he wanted me to get like a teddy bear or a doll or something, and just the way he looked over at me, he said, I was thinking about just doing it on you. So at that point, he smirked, and I kind of smirked back at him, yes.
So my question was correct, there were some moments of humor between the two of you. Or
I don't know if I call it humor, it's just,
jovial interchange between the two of you?
yes, there was a smirking between the two of us, the way the conversation led up to it, yes.
Smirking and jovial, would that mean the same thing, sir?
I would say yes.
Oh, thank you.
And what exactly was the topic of discussion at the time the defendant was smirking and jovial with you, Detective?
Actually showing me how he choked women to their death.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Detective. You're excused.
Thank you.
Your Honor, that's all the witnesses we had scheduled for presentation today.
Okay, it's 4:19 p.m. We will be recessing for the day until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please be back in the jury room at 8:45 tomorrow morning so we can get started promptly at 9. Again, don't discuss this with anyone. Don't let anybody discuss it with you. Don't look at any media reports. Don't read anything in the newspaper. Don't go out on the internet and or any social media networks to read anything about this. Don't form any opinions or draw any conclusions yet. And otherwise comply with the court's general order of admonitions. And we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8:45.